Hello everybody and welcome back to this build of the Microaces Fokker D7. As you can see, I've been rather busy. A lot of this has been done off camera, quite honestly, because it's so fiddly. I don't know how I would actually record it with the setup that I have here. But let's give you a sort of recap on what's happened. So if we look a little bit closer, this mount hasn't actually been glued in yet. I'm about to do that, the motor mount. The installation itself isn't that challenging in terms of putting the radio gear in. What is challenging is getting everything past the central aileron control unit here in terms of the push rods. The push rods are made out of a springy sort of steel, and you can thankfully bend them, and what you can see I've done there is I've added a small balsa piece as a guide to keep the run of the wires away from the mechanism so it doesn't foul it, and that involved shining a torch down here so I could see what was going on with it operating. I've got a little video of it working. It involved a couple of trail runs until I got it right. I've had to snip a little piece of the platform, the ply platform in this corner, because the aileron servo just fouls it. I could have taken that lower, of course I didn't realise that at the time, but it's glued on now with the sticky pads and it ain't coming off. So I've trimmed a little piece of plywood from there, from the platform, and it pushes down. You can see it induces down thrust and right thrust, quite a lot of right thrust, but the smaller the model, the more that's needed. The little folded up guns with the stickers I think are quite effective. I know you can get a 3D printed version if that's what you're after, but I'm quite happy with them. Once they're under the upper wing, you're not going to see a lot of them. Quite happy with that. The one thing that I have to confess to is that when I was lining this up and I was looking down here, initially this side was too low, and all I can think that is there was a slight twist in the fuselage as a result of me folding it up incorrectly. Of course I didn't notice that till later on, so what I've actually done is I unglued this section, on the surface with lighter gas fluid, which works on the U-port, unsticks it, and I cut a thin slither of 1mm Depron and lifted that up, and I'm now happy that it's aligned. That'll paint out blue, you'll never see it, I hope. So the next thing is to glue this in. Then that's completed. I'll cut away to a little section showing you it working. The cabines next, and then the interplane struts, and that's going to actually mean that this little project's nearing completion. Really pleased with it. I've enjoyed doing it. Something very, very different to what I normally do, and for that reason alone it's been fun to do. So we'll cut away and show you the operation of the radio gear just to prove it works, and then I'll crack on with the cabine struts and the interplane struts. Well, this is a big step forward after a lot of fiddling, lots of fiddling. That's the aileron servo, obviously not connected yet, but we have life. It's starting to become a model plane. There we go. It's time to push on with this. As you may or may not pick up from the way I'm speaking, I'm suffering from a heavy cold, or as the wife refers to it, man flu. So I'm feeling pretty sorry for myself. Had a miserable night's sleep. What better to cheer myself up than do a bit of modelling, eh? So what I'm going to try and do today is finish this build off. I may do that as mainly time-lapse videos. I'll pause only if there's something I need to add or see, or a problem I may have come across and how I've solved it. But so far so good. There's been one or two little hiccups along the way, but nothing major. It's a very, very well thought out kit. I'll go through the review when it's finished. The last thing I've done is this is now glued in, this plate with the motor on it and the little support for the battery, which I believe pushes in here, is done. So without further ado, let's get going. The first task I'm going to do actually is I'm going to cut out the cabins, because this is a departure from the instructions for the 3-channel model, where the cabins and the struts are put onto the upper wing and then added. It's suggested that you do the cabins first and add them to the fuselage, so that's what I'm going to do. I'll cut these off. They're quite a complicated structure. I do have a Fokker D7, a flare one, and I've got another one sitting in a box waiting to be put together. I obviously like them, and they've got this peculiar arrangement at the front end in the terms of the cabin, and we're going to try and reproduce that here. So I'll cut them in 4 legs out. There are 2 shorter legs and 2 longer legs. And this is a composite structure made up of layers of plastic, fiberglass, carbon fibre rod, should I say, and some stickers as well. So I'm cutting them off the sprue first. So there we go, there's that too. There are 2 short legs to cut out from this plastic, and they coincide with this one. Now I'm going to leave that label on, just so I know what I'm doing here. And I'll do the same with this one. A number of people have commented saying I must have enormous patience. Well, if you ask my wife that, she would laugh out loud. I haven't got any patience at all, but I am very bloody minded, and once I start something I'll stick with it and try and work my way through it. I often just joke and say I'm not patient, I just have a big swear box. So that, I believe, yeah, that's the main plastic parts for the cabins. And if I refer to the instructions, the first thing you need to do with the right hand there is to stick to these, trim that off a little bit more. So the shorter legs actually don't have any carbon fibre support in them, but they do have a double layer like so, a double layer of plastic, which sort of makes sense. Try to work out how these go together here. Let's see. Maybe the other way around, because each end's slightly different. I'm trying to make sure they match up correctly. There's nothing in the instructions regarding that. I'll Can't see anything on the drawings. Or can I? Let's have a look. Shorter. I wonder if I'm looking at this the wrong way around. No, that makes sense. So that goes there. I've definitely got those the wrong way around. And we'll zoom in, let you see them up. Let you see them. See what I'm fiddling about with here. Let you see. Let's zoom in a little bit. So it's just the way the ends actually marry up, and then it says that I need to cut out 2 carbon fibre rods. One is 60mm long and the other one's 57mm long. So here we go, that's the carbon rod. I'm going to measure that out. Might as well draw it on. The other line that you see here was the line for the push rods. I found there was quite a torture. In fact, that's the most difficult thing I've done on the whole job, was actually installing the push rods. If it was the 3-channel version, I think it would have been a doddle, because the difficulty is getting the push rods past the central control gizmo for the ailerons. That tends to get in the way. So that being the case, if it wasn't for that, this would have been an extremely straightforward build, I think. A couple of people have said that the 3-channel version flies so well, why did I bother getting this one? Well, I didn't actually go out to get this one. I bought it in a swap meet. It was from somebody's estate. Poor chap never got to make it. He purchased it, so I was going to stick with it as it is. It is slightly different to the 3-channel version. There are some structural differences. There's actually nothing that would stop you building this purely as a 3-channel if you wished. But then again, why not? So there we go. Let's see how these go. So the longer one, according to this, needs to be glued on there. That sort of makes sense. And the shorter one there. And what I'm doing is I'm taking them up to the point where the cross piece on the cabine, the horizontal is. That's the starting point, and that coincides really well with the point at which the little daggers that go into the fuselage end. So I'll apply, actually what I'm going to do is this tubing, if you can, it's almost impossible to, there you go. The tubing end gets blocked eventually with these, so I'm going to take this off and replace it with a new one, then we'll come back and glue those. Well, there we go. After lots of huffing and puffing, the cabines are in. I've spotted what I believe to be an error I don't think it's on my part. You'll notice on the upper cabin, this horizontal has the pattern printed on it. Now, presumably, that would be on the outside of the wing supports. But if you put the wing supports in the position that they're shown on the wing, there's like a faint line that you glue them to with the indents on the inside to accept the cabins. Well, what's going to happen is that painted side's going to be glued against here rather than being on the outside. Now, obviously, if you swap them over, that doesn't happen. But if you do that, you then have the stickers on the outside, and it quite clearly in the video, at least that John does, says the stickers go on the inside. So one of us has made a mistake. It's not a big deal, you're never going to see them under there, but I just thought I would point it out. I've also added the, as you can see, the supports, the very delicate, hope you can see them, wait a minute. There you go, they're the horns for the ailerons. I'm letting it all dry, and you can also see the guides, hopefully, for the cables or the threads. Now, I'm also under the impression that this is an earlier version because these haven't got any guides to stop the loops coming off. And John in the video quite clearly talks about this structure having guides on them for that purpose. So we'll see what happens. I could always make some. We'll see. But there it is, all ready to go. Obviously a little bit of fiddle to put that onto there. But, whoops, I'm sure it's doable. And obviously the struts to go. But before you do that, you have to actually start threading through the cables for the ailerons. So given that I'm under the weather, I'm going to have a coffee first and then I'm going to come back and tackle that. Well, after much cursing and a little bit of fiddling about, that's the radio installation completed and the wings in place. There's the aileron, elevator, rudder. I suspect most of the work will be done on the elevator and rudder. Obviously the settings aren't set up yet, and I don't know what the trim will be like. There's quite a bit of movement in the wing, and by that I mean you can sort of twist things around a little bit. I suppose that's all par for the course. Looks rather sweet though, doesn't it? I'm pleased with that. So there's just the nose area to do, and then that's the model finished. Cheered me up a little bit, being miserable with me cold, and the weather outside matches my head at the minute. But there you go. Fun and games. Well, there you go. A day's work. Feeling pretty rough, I must admit, but that's got me through the day. I'm really pleased with it. My first Microaces model. It won't be the last. I've enjoyed it. Just waiting for the next indoor session to give it a go. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed it, please give it a subscription if you haven't already done so, and a thumbs up would be nice too. Take care, everybody.